Good morning, I'm Matthew Maud from Maud Design, and this is part of my series on remote working. And this week, one of the things I want to talk with you about, each day I want to break down some of the key lessons that I've learned from my career that have kind of formulated my, if you like, thought patterns of the way I approach my work and solving problems. And one of the key lessons that I learned as a young man, I had the opportunity to work for a great organisation called VisualSoft for a number of years. And one of the things I learned there was that it's okay to make a mistake the first time. But then after that, if you make the same mistake repeatedly, it demonstrates that you've not learnt from the first mistake. And so what you need to do is look at the reasons that contributed to the mistake happening in the first place, trying to understand what they were, and then trying to put things in place that allowed you to ensure that that same mistake couldn't be repeated. And so what we were doing back in the earlier days is some of the results resulted in new checklists. I formulated what was going to be the beginning of a process for what's called the Go Live checklist. I don't know if it's still followed today or not, but basically it was a very simple set of guidelines that ensured that we could replicate a very high volume of websites going live, but to a very high and consistent standard to ensure that things weren't being missed on a daily basis depending on who was working on it, but that there was the same consistent checklist that we could check back on. One of the funnier examples, later on we'd moved into a new premise and I was asked to be the fire marshal. One of the more exciting aspects of my roles over the years, and we devised this elaborate, well, not really very elaborate, but just a very robust scheme to get 200 people out of the premise safely and coordinated during a fire drill. What we didn't know at the time was that the fire system, even in test mode, was connected to the fire service, who came and arrived at our fire drill very frustrated to find out that we were just running a test. So that's an example of a mistake, and we needed to work out how to ensure that future fire drills could happen without costly use of the fire service during that time. So that's just one of the things that's formulated the way I approach my work now. What are some of the lessons that you've learnt? What are some of the thought patterns that you've adopted during your career that have helped you to be successful in the way you address problem solving and in the way you address your work? I'd love to hear about it. Please do stay safe and stay at home. Have a great week. I'm Matthew Maud.